Welcome, gents. Reasons why Sigma males cold switch. Why Sigma men are the most intimidating men. In a world where many people move to the beat of others, Sigma men set their own rhythm. They are often misunderstood, misjudged, or even written off, simply because they follow a path that defies the usual expectations. But there's power in being different, and Sigma men know this well. They operate on their own terms, moving through life with a sense of purpose and quiet strength that doesn't need applause or validation from others. They can be intensely private, grounded, and self-reliant, which makes them intimidating to some and inspiring to others. What sets Sigma men apart is not only their independence, but their ability to stay true to themselves in any situation. They're not in it to be liked, admired, or even understood. Their focus is inward. They pursue knowledge, sharpen their minds, and align their actions with values they've chosen for themselves. They don't lead by being loud or assertive, nor do they follow out of fear or a need for approval. Instead, they stand as examples of what it means to be unshakably comfortable in one's own skin. This path isn't easy. It takes resilience to walk a different road and carve out a life that may not fit the usual molds. But Sigma men find fulfillment in the freedom it brings. They understand that true confidence isn't about winning others over. It's about respecting their own journey, flaws and all. This quiet intensity, combined with their steadfast independence, often comes across as intimidating. Yet, at its core, it's simply the reflection of someone who's at peace with who they are. To the Sigma man, embrace the strength it takes to be your own person. Know that the discomfort others might feel around you isn't your responsibility. It's the natural reaction to a rare quality in this world, genuine, unapologetic self-sufficiency. So, gentlemen, stick around with me until we get to the very end, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Number 10. An old soul vibe. When you meet a Sigma man, you might feel like you're talking to someone who's lived a few lifetimes. It's not that he's quoting ancient philosophers or analyzing the mysteries of the universe, though he could if he wanted to. Instead, there's a calmness and depth to him, like he's seen enough to know what matters and what's just noise. This old soul vibe can be both fascinating and unnerving. It's as if he's carrying some sort of quiet wisdom that makes others feel a little less in the know. While most people are busy jumping on the latest trends or stressing over the next big thing, the Sigma man remains unaffected. He doesn't care about keeping up with the latest hype, and he isn't worried about impressing anyone. He's confident in his own values, so he doesn't need to prove anything. To him, life is more about quality than quantity, whether it's friends, possessions, or experiences. This timeless perspective makes people wonder, what does he know that they don't? Adding to the mystery is his lack of need for validation. He doesn't play the game of social approval or fads, and that can be intimidating. Being around him, people might feel like they're staring at their own insecurities or at someone who's simply figured out how to walk his own path, unaffected by the usual pressures. It's both humbling and refreshing, and that's what makes him hard to ignore. Number 9. Non-reactive demeanor. Imagine a guy who doesn't flinch when he's praised, criticized, or even baited with gossip. That's a Sigma man. His reaction? Probably a calm nod, maybe a raised eyebrow, but usually nothing more. It's as if he's built a firewall against emotional manipulation. This non-reactive demeanor can be hilariously unnerving to people who thrive on drama or expect a reaction. For them, a Sigma man's unshakable calm is a mystery. He's a bit like a human Zen garden with zero time for nonsense. A Sigma man's resistance to reacting isn't about apathy. He's not ignoring you, he just doesn't feel the need to play along with social cues that don't serve him. While most people get tangled up in praise or criticism, he's simply not invested. Compliment him, he won't take it to heart. Insult him, it won't land. Gossip about him, he won't bat an eye. He's focused on his own path, and if your opinion doesn't add to it, he probably isn't interested. This steady composure makes him almost impossible to manipulate. Try sparking a confrontation or stirring up some social drama. It's likely he'll let it fizzle out without giving you the reaction you're looking for. This can drive people wild with confusion. When everyone's used to pressing buttons to get a reaction, meeting a Sigma man is like trying to turn on a TV with the wrong remote. And that mystery, it's what makes him so intriguing and so intimidating. Number 8, a high threshold for tolerating awkwardness. Picture this. You're sitting across from a Sigma man, and there's a sudden, long silence. For most people, that's the cue to nervously ramble about the weather, their weekend plans, anything to fill the void. But not for the Sigma. He's completely unbothered, sitting there cool as a cucumber, as if he's silently saying, "Take your time, I can do this all day." He's got an uncanny ability to just sit there, unfazed, letting the awkwardness linger. It's this comfort with discomfort that sets Sigma men apart. They're the types who won't scramble to ease a tense moment or break an awkward silence. While most people feel like they're under a spotlight in those situations, Sigma men just sit back, watching, waiting, perfectly calm. And for everyone else, it's a bit unnerving. There's a feeling of vulnerability when you're the only one squirming in the quiet. It's as if the Sigma man's silence holds a mirror up to your own discomfort, and suddenly, you're the one who feels exposed. This comfort with awkwardness gives Sigma men an unexpected advantage in social settings. They never rush to fill gaps or cater to others' unease, which often leaves them in control of the conversation without lifting a finger. Others might end up saying things they didn't mean to just to break the silence. Meanwhile, the Sigma watches, listens, and maybe even smirks, completely at ease. And that calm confidence, that's exactly what makes him so intimidating. Number 7, naturally drawn to the shadows. Sigma men have a unique way of operating. While most people are busy keeping things light and sticking to the comfortable topics, Sigma men are wandering the shadows, drawn to what's hidden, raw, and maybe a little messy. They're not afraid to dig into the unspoken, less glamorous sides of life, and that's exactly what makes them so intriguing. If there's an elephant in the room, the Sigma man will acknowledge it with a nod, maybe even ask it a few questions, while everyone else is pretending it's not there. This natural draw to the shadows gives them an aura that's both fascinating and intimidating. They're not interested in showing off or conforming to polished expectations. They want authenticity, even if it's a bit gritty. And they're unafraid to see and accept the darkness in others and in themselves. For many, this level of self-awareness and honesty is unsettling, like looking into a mirror they weren't ready for. The Sigma's comfort with exploring life's undercurrents often makes people feel vulnerable around him. He'll ask questions that cut past small talk or casually bring up deeper topics others might avoid. It's not to make anyone uncomfortable. It's simply that he's wired to seek substance over superficiality. And let's be honest, that kind of genuine, unfiltered interest is rare. People often don't know what to do with someone who sees past the surface, who isn't afraid of what they'll find. And that's what makes him unforgettable and just a bit intimidating. Thank you for being a valued subscriber, gents. Your ongoing support is greatly appreciated and motivates us to continue creating meaningful content. We truly value your engagement. Number 6, mastery of the unknown. Sigma men are like that locked box you found in the attic, intriguing, a bit mysterious, and no one has the key. They seem to come with a don't ask, don't tell vibe, staying private about who they are and what they want. Ask them a direct question, and you might get an answer that raises even more questions. It's not that they're trying to be evasive, they just don't feel the need to spell everything out. For people who are used to knowing exactly where they stand, this is both fascinating and unsettling. What really throws people off is the unpredictability of Sigma men. They don't lay all their cards on the table so others can't anticipate their next move. Are they silently planning something big, or are they just enjoying the view? Who knows? This low-profile, reveal-nothing approach makes it impossible for people to predict them. It's like watching a suspense movie where you're not sure if the lead character is the hero, the villain, or maybe both. Sigma men's comfort in the unknown keeps people on their toes. Because they don't need attention or validation, they're perfectly fine letting people guess. For those who rely on social cues and predictable responses, this mystery is a little intimidating. Being around a Sigma man is like walking through a maze. You're curious to explore, but you're never quite sure what you'll find around the corner. and that's exactly how he likes it. Number 5. Empathy with a limit. Sigma. Men are like the friend who listens to your problems, gives solid advice, and then quietly slides out of the conversation before it turns into an emotional marathon. They're empathetic, maybe even more than most people, but with one key difference. They've got invisible boundaries that protect their energy. They'll understand your pain, nod thoughtfully, and offer help. But if you start looking for a deep, emotional lifeline, they're not the ones to call for a 3 a.m. heart-to-heart. They've got their limits, and they're not shy about setting them. This ability to empathize, but only so far, can be a bit unnerving. People expect empathy to come with an endless supply of emotional investment, but Sigma men know that too much involvement in other people's drama can drain you. So they keep a healthy distance, enough to care, enough to help, but never enough to get sucked into a cycle of emotional dependency. And that's where the intimidation kicks in. It's not that they don't care. It's just that they care in a way that doesn't leave them emotionally drained or responsible for fixing everyone's problems. For those who want constant reassurance or emotional back and forth, a Sigma man's detached yet compassionate style can be jarring. They're like the emotionally evolved version of a lifeguard, ready to pull you out of the deep end but not getting in the water themselves. And in a world where everyone is craving connection, that level of emotional self-sufficiency is both refreshing and a little intimidating. Number 4. Paradoxically, both rebellious and conservative. Sigma men are the kind of people who will question everything, including the rules they're supposed to follow, and then turn around and stick to some very traditional beliefs that make you raise an eyebrow. They're not bound by any set ideology. They'll break all the norms in one area of their life, but then hold on to conservative values in another, like it's the foundation of their entire worldview. This mix of rebellion and tradition is enough to make your head spin. One minute they're challenging societal expectations, refusing to conform to any groupthink, and the next, they're advocating for old-school principles that seem completely out of sync with their wild child persona. It's like they're living in a world where rules are meant to be bent and then put back in place exactly how they want them. This unpredictability in their values can make people uncomfortable. You can't box them into simple categories. They're not just edgy or old-fashioned, they're both, and it doesn't always make sense. This is what makes Sigma men so intimidating. It's hard to know where you stand with them because they refuse to be easily understood. They challenge you to think, but they don't need you to agree with them. They're comfortable in the contradictions that make up who they are, and that makes them seem both wise and utterly unapproachable at the same time. You can't label them, and that's exactly why you can't ignore them. Number 3. Seeing life through a lone wolf lens. Sigma men live life like it's a solo adventure. While most people are busy coordinating with the group, making sure everyone's on the same page and feeding off social validation, the Sigma is happily off the beaten path, doing his own thing. He sees life as a personal journey, not a collective one. If you're expecting him to follow the crowd or play by the usual social rules, good luck. He's probably already 5 steps ahead, thinking about something that's entirely his own. This lone wolf approach can leave people feeling like they don't even exist in his world. If you're the type to expect validation or recognition in social settings, you might feel like a ghost around a Sigma man. He doesn't measure his worth by how many people nod in agreement with him or how much attention he gets at a party. If you're hoping he'll pat you on the back for your latest accomplishment or join in on some groupthink, forget it. He's not interested. He's more focused on his own values and goals, and that's not something that needs the approval of the pack. This isn't to say Sigma men are rude or dismissive. It's just that they don't need the constant social feedback loop that others do. And that kind of independence, it's intimidating. It's not about rejecting others, it's about living life on their own terms. For those who rely on being seen, heard, or validated, a Sigma man's quiet confidence can feel downright unnerving. Number 2, they don't seek permission to be who they are. Sigma men don't ask for permission to be themselves, ever. They don't need a green light from anyone or an approval stamp to live their life the way they see fit. While most people are busy seeking validation from the crowd or trying to fit into pre-approved molds, the Sigma man is over there doing his thing, completely indifferent to whether you get him or not. This lack of need for external approval is what makes them so intimidating. It's not just about rejecting social norms. It's about not caring about them in the first place. They don't wait for anyone's permission to speak their mind, follow their passions, or live in a way that doesn't fit the traditional blueprint. If the world says, "Be like this," the Sigma man quietly says, "Nah, I'm good." It's this unapologetic confidence that makes them stand out in a crowd. While everyone else is busy tiptoeing around the edges, trying to please everyone, the Sigma walks straight down his own path, often without even glancing back, and that's what trips people up. They don't know how to deal with someone who simply exists without needing the validation of others. The fact that a Sigma man's self-worth isn't tied to anyone else's opinion can make some people uncomfortable. In a world that thrives on comparison and approval, that kind of freedom is nothing short of intimidating. It's like watching someone do their own thing without ever asking, "Is this okay?" And the best part, they don't care if you're impressed. Number 2, they're loyal, but only to the worthy. Sigma men are loyal, but don't expect them to be your ride or die just because you have a fancy title or a flashy car. They're not easily swayed by status or appearances. For a Sigma, loyalty isn't something handed out like free samples at Costco. It's earned through trust, integrity, and actions that align with their values. If you want a Sigma on your team, you'd better show you're worthy of their commitment because they're not handing it out to just anyone. This selective loyalty can be incredibly intimidating. While most people are busy sucking up to the boss, trying to climb the social ladder, or doing favors based on status, Sigma men couldn't care less about your title or how many followers you have. If you're not authentic or trustworthy, you're not getting in. It's like trying to buy a VIP pass with counterfeit cash. They'll see right through it. What makes this so unsettling to others is the sheer honesty of it. You can't manipulate a Sigma into being loyal by throwing money, power, or praise at them. They respect actions, not words or external markers of success. So if you've earned their trust, they'll stick by you no matter what. But if you haven't, good luck. The lack of any easy loyalty makes Sigma men both refreshingly reliable and intimidatingly distant. You'll know where you stand with them, but you'll have to work to get there. Number 1, they make people question themselves. Sigma men don't have to say a word, but somehow, just by existing, they manage to make everyone around them start questioning their life choices. It's like having a walking, talking mirror that doesn't reflect your face, but everything you've been avoiding in your own life. Their self-reliant, unaffected demeanor forces others to pause and think, "Wait, am I doing this the right way?" It's not that they're trying to be judgmental. They're just being themselves. And that's the problem. Their calm confidence and complete disregard for external validation can trigger a deep, almost involuntary introspection in others. When people see someone who doesn't need anyone's approval or constantly follow the crowd, it unintentionally highlights the places where they might be seeking approval or conforming to expectations that don't even feel right. This indirect mirror effect can be unnerving. People might find themselves evaluating their own decisions, questioning why they care so much about others' opinions, or wondering if they've been chasing the wrong goals. It's uncomfortable because it exposes insecurities that people would rather keep hidden. And let's be honest, no one likes to feel like they've been living on autopilot or stuck in a loop of seeking approval. The fact that Sigma men can do all of this without even trying makes them especially intimidating. They're not pushing anyone to reflect. They're simply living in a way that forces others to look inward, and not everyone is ready for that kind of honesty. As we wrap up, conclusion, why Sigma men are the most intimidating men. At the end of the day, Sigma men are intimidating not because they try to be, they simply are by the way they live. They don't follow the herd, they don't seek approval, they don't bend to the usual social rules that most people cling to. Instead, they carve their own path, and that level of self-sufficiency and authenticity can be unnerving to anyone who is still trying to figure out how to fit in or get ahead. The reason they stand out so sharply is because they're comfortable in their own skin, regardless of what anyone else thinks. Their loyalty is earned, their emotions are controlled, and their focus is razor-sharp. When someone doesn't care about impressing anyone, doesn't need constant validation, and isn't afraid to be alone, it forces others to look inward and ask themselves some hard questions. Why am I living like this? Why do I need so much outside validation? What am I afraid of? Being a Sigma isn't about being cold or distant. It's about having the freedom to be real. They've learned the power of not conforming, of not letting social pressures dictate their choices. And while this independence can be intimidating, it's also incredibly powerful. It's a reminder that we all have the ability to stop seeking approval and start living on our own terms. So, take a page from the Sigma's book. Stop waiting for permission to be yourself. Embrace your own path, your own beliefs, and the freedom that comes with living authentically. In a world full of noise and expectations, it's the Sigma man's quiet strength that speaks the loudest. Thank you, gents, for tuning in, and God bless.